Hello, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Welcome to Core Devs Meeting 4. On today's agenda, first we talk about tip 44, which allows some functions can only be called by the user, not by the contract. Then we will talk about tip 54, which enables to active non-existent accounts automatically when transferring TRX and TRC10 assets in a smart contract. At last, we discussed bad load actor penalty mechanism. Okay, since last meeting, you guys who want to share some updates?
Well, I have some progress about the light footnote. We have talked about it several weeks ago, and for now, we have done the coding work, and almost the unit test about 80%. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions for the update?
No.
No? Okay. So I think it's your turn, Elvis. Hello, Elvis.
Hello, everyone. I will share the screen later. Everyone sees the screen?
Yes.
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 During the development of smart contract, it is necessary to determine whether an address is a smart contract or not. Before TIP44 is implemented, there were several ways to determine whether an address is a contract address or simply an address with no private key, but none of them are perfect. Ethereum attacks caused by contract invasion lead to extremely economic losses for the PT developers. So developers need a better way to distinguish address type. TRON is committed to help developers to develop more secure and reliable smart contract and make the TRON ecosystem more stronger. We have taken a series of action to prevent developers from the risk. TIP44 is one of them. TIP44 provides us a new instruction, its contract at the TVM level, which is used to tell whether an address is a contract address, and its contract property is added to the address type, which allows a user to call its contract instruction. So the developers can simply use this property in Solidity language to tell the address type. Any question?
Yeah, I want to ask, is there an actual scenario that you have to make sure if an address is a contract one? I mean, could you tell me some details about this instruction?
Sure. For now, it mainly has two different types: contract address, the message receiver address, or the sender address. When we transfer an address in a smart contract does not want to trigger the fallback method of the others, we need to determine whether the target address is a contract address. When a function in a smart contract does not want to be called by another smart contract addresses, it is only allowed to be called by a normal address with a private key on the chain. It is also necessary to determine whether the target address is a contract address.
Oh, okay, Elvis. As you know, I'm not an expert on smart contracts. So can you give me some knowledge about the fallback function?
The fallback function is a special function in smart contracts. Each smart contract can have a public unnamed function that has no parameters and return values. It is executed on a call to the contract if none of the other contracts match the given function signature. Furthermore, this function is executed whenever the contract receives TRX without data. Any other question?
I found some fallback function is modified by the keyword payable, but without any other code. So what does this fallback function use for?
Contracts that receive TRX by using send or transfer method, but do not define a fallback function through an exception sending back the TRX. So if you want to your contract to receive TRX, you have to implement the payable fallback function.
If I want to trigger other contract fallback functions directly in a contract, what should I do?
Wait a minute, I will find some code. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There are two contracts, test and caller. The call test function in the caller contract has two different kinds of ways to call the fallback function of the test contract. Firstly, the call test function calls a function which does not exist in the test contract, or use call value to transfer TRX to test contract. Secondly, the call test function transfers the test address by calling the send and transfer function of the test address. That's all.
Can you explain what's the traditional way to distinguish contract address from normal address besides this TIP44?
Actually, Taiwan will tell us more about the best practice of implementation.
Oh yes, thanks Elvis. So I'd like to give you more details of what we usually do for contracts distinguish, and take a deeper view of the new way we mentioned in TIP44, and hope this can help you to have a better understanding of the differences. So now I'm going to share my screen. So Elvis, can you just stop sharing yours, and I will take the place. Elvis?
Sorry, I can't see your screen.
1 second. Elvis, can you? Yeah. So I'm going to share.
Okay.
Right. Can you see this code?
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, most dev developer would like to use the following two ways to prevent malicious contract attack. It's not only suitable for TRON but also on Ethereum. So we can take a deeper view. So generally speaking, if an address contains no code, it means it's not a smart contract address, but a common user address. This is true in majority cases. So you just need to check the size of a specific address, like what I'm showing in this code, and to prevent fallback attack. So developers usually use this code piece to distinguish a contract address. They would like to handle their logic carefully, especially when the code is related to their asset. Another common code piece is like the second way I'm showing, which forbids the contract method caller to be a contract. And it can prevent the so-called reverse attack or rollback attack, and guaranteeing the contract caller address is a normal address with a known private key on the chain. So just give you some more details about these two pieces of code. The second function also has some limitation, since it can only be used to prevent when the caller is an attacker, but can't be suited for all cases. Okay, so any questions here? I have a question. So you want me to explain some of the keywords here, right?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So Solidity actually defines an assembly language that you can use inline assembly inside Solidity source code. Inline assembly is a language which is close to language which can be recognized by virtual machine directly. So external code size here is a function which parameter is an address, and the return value size is the exact amount of the code size of the contract corresponding to this address. And the external, which part do you want me to explain for the second one?
What about the message sender and the transaction origin?
Sure, so message sender is the sender of a message. And message here can be a normal transaction, which has signature, but also can be something called internal transaction. And transaction origin is the sender of a transaction, and it can't be a contract. So transaction origin has to be an address with a known private key. Okay.
Okay. So if the message sender and transaction origin are equal, which means message sender is also a normal address with a private key, not a contract address. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. And so this can prevent message sender to be a contract address.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think we have already got a lot of ways to distinguish a contract address from common addresses. So is it truly necessary to have a new one? Is there any advantages compared to the old ones?
Right. Actually, this is what I want to introduce to the next part. And you see we have an inventory here. And so in this repository, we have some attack methods. So like just what I mentioned here. Actually, both of the ways I mentioned above have their shortage. The transaction origin is mainly because it can't support all cases. So I just make a brief introduction of this part. But for the first one, you may have noticed that I mentioned calculate code size for a specific address can handle majority of the cases. But in some specific situation, they are not reliable. So this is what I want to show here. The hacker actually can use something called constructor attack, like this. So this can avoid they are being noticed by the code size check, which simply means that an attacker can establish a reverse attack when the attacker deploys a smart contract rather than just trigger it. So another point is it's not a very good developing experience to user who use assembly with pure Solidity code together. So actually, we also should to make the code as simple as we can to avoid other bugs. However, if you use its contract property, which is very simple to use, and it can adapt to be used in any known cases. So we actually encourage dev developers to try it out. Okay.
So this example shows if an attack contract tries to call the victim from attacker's constructor, and a victim contractor misuses the external code size to distinguish the caller address type, the check in victim contract can pass, and the attacker will be regarded as a normal address since its code size is 0. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. You get the point. So when execute the code in a constructor like this, and the victim contract will always regard the deploying contract size as 0, since it hasn't been saved on the chain yet.
Okay, I got it. So when we write contract code, can we use this contract function provided by TIP44 to judge?
Sure. So actually, TIP44 provides a very safe and reliable way, so you can just try it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I know in TMP26, we add a new instruction, create2, and we also have a self-destruct instruction. Those two instructions are both related to the address status. Will this TIP44 impact those two instructions?
Yeah, actually, I mean, so you really know a lot about this contract instructions. So you must know self-destruct means the contract suicide itself to an empty account and transfer all its assets to another address. And for the other instruction, just want to mention that give a very brief introduction so everyone can be on the same page. So grade 2 is a specific, it's a very special instruction, similar as grade instruction, but the exact generated address is predictable, while the address generated by create is not predictable. So as you see, both of the two instructions here will change the state of the target address. In this case, you should really check the address states every time you trigger the smart contract rather than just store it in a state in a variable of a smart contract for safety purpose. Okay. And any questions? Other questions?
I want to ask something else. Well, can you provide some attacking cases? Because I want to know something about the contract safety.
Hi, security. Actually, I prepared some demo for more explanation. I'd like to introduce two attacks here, okay?
All right.
In 2018, some lucky draw dApps such as Lucky Go to Bet were under low-back attack. Hacker used the inline action to cast a low-back attack, which means that multiple different actions are in one transaction. As long as there is an exception, the entire transaction will fail, and all actions will be loaded back. I wrote a demo to explain how low-back attack works, and I will show my screen. First, the betting operation is performed in attack contract. Victim contract gets value and pays bonus immediately after draws, and then attack uses the inline action to determine whether it has won. If not, exception is thrown. At this time, since the betting action and the attacking action are in the same transaction, the exception will cause the bet to fail. Any questions?
I have a question. So this is when the attack contract calls the victim contract draw method. It will decide whether to reverse the attack according to the change of our contract balance. Also, the attacked draw transaction will be reverted.
Yes, this is the core of the low-back attack. Some quick draw dApps are easily to be attacked. Any more questions?
Okay.
Okay, I will introduce the fallback attack. In 2016, the DAO attack incident was the use of fallback attacks by hackers. The attack process is as follows. Assuming 100 SHUN in the bank contract and 10 SHUN in the attack contract. The attack contract first calls the deposit method to send 10 SHUN to the bank contract. Then the attack contract calls withdraw method, which calls the withdraw balance method. The bank's withdraw balance method sends to the attack contract 10 SHUN by using core value, which will trigger fallback function. So attack contract receives 10 SHUN. Meanwhile, the fallback function calls withdraw balance method twice and transfer another 20 SHUN away. And finally, the bank contract modifies the balance of the attack contract. Through the above steps, the attacker actually transferred 30 SHUN from the bank contract, and the bank lost 20. Okay, any questions? Okay, that's pretty much my showing.
Okay, if there's no questions for TIP 44, now I want to introduce the TIP 54. So I will share my screen. Okay. TIP 54 shows how to give TRON virtual machine the ability to activate inactive accounts. There are two ways to implement TIP 54. One is to add an opcode that can activate the count at the comparer level, and the other is the currently implemented method directly performs additional operations on specific behaviors at the virtual machine level, which is influenced in two aspects. The first, when the TRON VM processes the TRX or TRC10 token transfers, if the target address is in an active state, the address will be activated, and then the transfer process will be performed, which will additionally consume 25,000 of the contract caller's energy. Second, when the TRON VM processes the suicide instruction of the contract, if the recipient address is in an active state, the address will be activated, and then the suicide process is performed, which does not consume additional energy. Before this TIP is implemented, the way to activate the address was mainly through the system contract. This required the caller's non-free frozen bandwidth resources to be consumed, the caller's 0.1 TRX. Now we have the way through smart contract. So this is the basic idea about the TIP54. Any questions so far?
Can you introduce how one account is activated in TRON? I know we can transfer TRX to active new account. Can you give us the background?
Sure. For this TIP54, the TRON protocol provided a system contract for create account to create and activate accounts. In addition, when the system contract, the transfer third contract was executed, a non-existent address would be automatically activated. And after TIP54 takes effect, as I introduced above, the account activation operation will also be supported at the VM level.
Share with us the motivation of adding active account in smart contract. Since we already have those mechanisms to activate new account, is this a redundant work?
I think the TIP is necessary. In our first version of that, in order to avoid potential risks, we carefully selected non-existent addresses that will not be automatically activated. Transfer to non-existent account will lead the transaction to be reverted. However, it's not the same on Ethereum. Developers accustomed to EVM contracts may get confused.
I see your point. So it's good for user experience and also a good way to attract new developers to use TRON network.
Exactly. Actually, this is also obey the evolution path of TRON virtual machine as we said. We are trying to introduce more system contracts functionality to smart contracts, but then more privilege and the flexibility to the app developers. For more contract implementation details, you can consult Lenny, our expert on smart contracts. Lenny, can you give us more output?
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank Julian. Let's get started. I'd like to show you some specific code here, and I'm going to share my screen. Wait a moment, please. Okay, imagine a smart contract. Users can use this contract to perform PX batch transferring. What the contract trained to do is a fund distribution. You may notice some shortage here. Before TIP54 takes effect, There will be obvious problems. Any unactivated account address will cause the reward of the entire transaction. The counter cannot accurately determine which address is not activated in the contract, but has to use other ways to guarantee all addresses as parameters are activated outside the contract scope. The receiver may have to activate the account by themselves, which is also a large amount of work, not good for contract user experience. Okay, any questions?
Okay, this means in the previous version, this contract cannot be used if it encounters an inactive receiving address. I mean, the decentralization app developer cannot use this contract.
Okay, not really. The counter can choose to query on a trusted node by using the TRON Core API call to ensure that all distribution addresses are activated and remove inactive account addresses for distribution.
Okay, it means users should do some other operations before the contract function is executed.
You are right. So you may notice the inconvenience before TIP 54. No matter how you deal with this issue, it cannot be completed only through the smart contract. It requires processing outside the contract and cannot form a unified system. After TIP 54 takes effect, using this contract to send a multiple address can activate the account at the same time, which is consistent with the expectation of developers. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can you talk about the OP code suicide? Based on your introduction, suicide will help to activate the target address. What's the reason of that?
Hi, I'm familiar with this part, so I would like to answer your question. So, before TIP 54 came into effect, when suicide was performed, if recipient address was an inactive account, there might be cases where safety TRON was not possible. The compromise at this time is to manually activate the recipient account before performing safety TRON in order to avoid unnecessary operations. TIP 54 has added the ability to activate recipient account by executing suicide OP code.
I noticed that the charge of energy is different compared with a previous version of java-tron. Could you please introduce the deduction logic and the differences?
Charge is different. Obviously, in the original version of java-tron, all fee limits were deducted if transfer money to a non-active address in the VM. The community believed that this kind of punishment was unnecessary, so it was changed to just review the contract without deducting additional energy after agreeing to other side 3.6.0. So after TIP 54, virtual machine will spot this behavior and it charges 25,000 extra energy to activate and create account.
How to determine the status of account is active in smart contract? Is there a corresponding OP code?
Yes, this is a good question. At present, it cannot determine whether the address of account is active in virtual machine. However, it is easy to find a solution for this issue, which is to expand the TVN instruction set and add similar to its contract OP code as an address attribute in Solidity syntax. So in this way, when performing strong TRC20-like transfer operations, you can avoid transferring to an inactive account address.
Will there be some negative effects after this tip is implemented?
I think there will be some effects. It is not a level of risk. When smart contract like TIS or TRC can transfer in TRON VA, it may be transferred to an address that is not owned by anyone. There will be loss. Therefore, developers should be careful and make sure that target address is correct. Besides, if developer relies on transferring funds to an account in the contract to determine whether the account is active. However, relevant instructions cannot be executed after tip 54. Thank you.
Okay. Hello team. What will happen if I transfer TRX to the suicide contract?
In my opinion, I think the transition will be reversed if transferred to a suicide contract.
Are you
It's
sure?
correct.
I think I'm not agreed with you. I think I have a normal account without the private key.
Oh yeah, no, I think you are right. It should be something wrong in my opinion. Thank you for the correction.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Yes.
Okay, so far, any question for tip 54?
No.
Okay.
I have no question.
Okay. So thank you for the details about the tip 54 and tip 44. Okay, let's move on to the bad node actors channel tip. How to regulate the bad node. The node behaviors is very important to run its system. As bad node behaviors is very general topic, this time we want to restrict it to a single node behavior, such as there are some typical bad behaviors like code upgrade not in time, missing blocks, and producing empty blocks, and so on. I think it is necessary for all the SRs to upgrade their node to the newest version before opening the voting request or proposal. But often, some SR nodes do not upgrade in time, resulting in the delay of opening the voting request. What's your guys' opinion?
Yes, I know the situation you are talking about. Well, in the current situation, the super node will not be punished. I recommend that the other super representative can list such malicious super nodes, so that he will lose their ability to be a super representative. For example, the super representative will lose his qualification temporarily if 18% of other actors thinks he has a malicious actor, such as not upgrade the version on time.
Yeah, Michael, I see your point. So it's indeed one way. So SR is a very important factor in the ecology, and it's closely related to the development of the community. And if they are not activated in community governance, they can't really represent the opinion of our community. So, but there remains just one question here. Do you think 80% is a reasonable threshold? So, which means how should we define a threshold here?
Of course, this is only an idea. If necessary, I think it is necessary to initiate a TIP to discuss this matter seriously. For example, his qualifications can be suspended with as many votes as possible. How long the suspension can be suspended, and how to choose a substitute super representative. I think there are quite a lot of things to discuss here.
Yeah. Yes, I think if this is the case, we must win the approval of the majority of SRs. Is it also possible to have some SR partners to participate in the voting? Because after all, be ready to become a formal SR?
Yes. I think this is a good idea. Give the SR partners a chance to participating in the voting. I think we can jointly propose a TIP.
Yes. I noticed on TRON Scan there is a SR page. It shows how many blocks each SR misses. Maybe we can calculate how many empty blocks each SR produces and then list it on TRON Scan. That can be an indicator of their definition, which can be displayed as evidence of the bad actor. What do you think?
I think it is possible to introduce an SR reputation mechanism, just like we have some scoring mechanism for nodes. At present, the total number of each SR production block and the total number of missing blocks are recorded on the blockchain. This is an important reference indicator. Of course, if you want a sound or perfect reputation evaluation mechanism, you need to set other requirements index.
Yes, I agree with you because I think the threat of loss of income and reputation is one of the major incentives against bad behavior.
Yes, I think it is a good idea. So we must store the original data on the blockchain forever, so voters can vote for SR with a better reputation. And because this data used for evaluating the SR reputation saved on the blockchain all the time, if there is a perfect evaluation system, I think it can be further combined with the incentives. The SR with a better reputation can get more incentives.
Yes, we still often encounter the problem that some supernodes miss blocks for continuous period of time. Now there are no punitive measures. So if this is related to their reputation and how much they are rewarded, I think they will just run their code, run their own nodes carefully.
Yes, definitely, it is right. Because SR is very important to our TRON ecology, and if they have malicious actors, I think it is harmful to our TRON network. And I think that this is issue need to be further discussed in the future.
Okay.
Anybody have ideas about this issue?
Hello, Crypto Chain. What's your opinion about the bad node behavior? How to punish them?
So I think the major things already taken, like number of blocks that SR drops is one thing, and we can prevent that SR to be elected or to be in the next round, so the next one in line will get up. Another thing is about the upgrade node. So we have a big mission about when we release a new version, and it takes a lot of time for the 27 upgraded node. So if you take the measure of the 2/3 plus 1 and give them, like, after that, like 1 or 2 days for the others to upgrade, so they have actually time to upgrade and doesn't show. If they don't upgrade it, we already have the numbers of the version that the SR is running. So after the 2/3 plus 1 upgraded nodes, and the next in line can be elected instead of the ones that are elected. So this will prevent the networks to drop down if the others that are elected doesn't upgrade, and the others on the bottom can get that position and start producing nodes. I think it's doable to do this, and we can make very good progress if you implement this method.
Yes, but I think our maintenance period is 6 hours. So you think we should re-elect all the SRs within the 6 hours, or just every 6 hours?
No, not that. Like, let's say that 2/3 plus one of the SCRs have upgraded to a new version. Okay, so the others, we still have 1/3 to upgrade. We can give that after that time, like we do for the proposals. At 3 days, we count the votes and see if the proposal is approved or not. We can do the same thing similar to the node upgrade. Like after 2/3 have complete the node upgrade, we can give them like 3 days. The others 3 days to upgrade. If they don't upgrade, we have they are not elected in the next 3 days, in the next round. And the SCRs that are like, they are not electable. They the votes that they receive doesn't count for them, and the others on the bottom that have upgraded node can be elected instead of the ones that have not upgraded. So they have like 3 days to complete the upgrade after the soft fork, like after the 2/3 have upgrade.
Yeah, I see your point. So the way you mentioned, I think is more similar to the way Bitcoin used, using a percentage, how much like 50% of the SR or the block version has been upgraded to a new version. Then we should turn to some new code. If it is not, we just remain the old ones. And what you mentioned, the second point you mentioned is about the days. But in my opinion, it's better to use the block height instead of just using date. That might be a better way to calculate what's which point at which time we should upgrade to a new version, and just punish the anyone who didn't upgrade their version to the latest one.
Okay, I mentioned about days just to have a delay between the 2/3 and the other 1/3 can upgrade, but doesn't mean that we can count in days. We can count by cycles, like the 6-hour cycles that we have, like after 4 cycles a day, so 3 times, and we can have 12 cycles. So after 2/3 upgrade, we count 12 cycles for the others to upgrade or not. Just like that.
I see.
Yeah,
cycles.
Sounds reasonable.
Hello. I heard from Tai Hao. I have a question. Do you mean we can open or voting for the proposal after some SR upgraded to a new version?
No, you don't have to do so. You don't have to do so. So the way is like Bitcoin. What Bitcoin do is they have a percentage. If it's more related to the method you want to use, they can define a percentage like 50%, and they will remain the. We have block version, right? So block version, block version.
But if we upgrade 15% SR, the other 15% SR will missing block if the proposal.
No. After the 50% upgrade, the others that doesn't upgrade, they will have like 3 days or so. And if they don't upgrade, they're not electable in the next cycle. So the others that have can get up.
Right. Okay. So the code will tell you who will be elected, right? Who can be elected.
Okay.
We need to write some code here.
Yes, that's very fair enough. Any more opinions?
I think this can be discussed in the future or in the GitHub issues. So we can give a detailed plan of this mechanism.
Yes, I think so. Okay, so there's no more questions for this meeting. Okay, I think that is pretty much all we need to talk about today. For the next meeting, if there's something you want to talk about or to discuss, you can write it on the agenda issue of the meeting file after I create the issue. Today's meeting content will be noted and published on GitHub. Okay, our meeting ends here. Have a good day. See you guys.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.